Do you feel that your body is getting weaker day by day? Do your joints ache? Does your digestion feel sluggish? And is your energy fading faster than it used to? Before you reach for another expensive supplement, listen closely. The key to rebuilding your vitality might be sitting in your kitchen pantry right now. It's a humble food we often overlook, but when prepared correctly, it becomes a powerful ally against aging. Today, we unlock the profound health secrets of the simple black bean. If you found value in today's story, a simple like helps this message reach more people who might need it. Please consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on more simple secrets to a healthy and happy life. Thank you for being here. From the window of my small clinic, I have a clear view of the winding path that leads up the mountain. It is a path I have known my entire life, first as a boy chasing dragonflies, and now as the town's physician, watching the slow, steady rhythm of life unfold. Our town is nestled in a valley, cradled by mist-covered peaks, a place where the old ways are not forgotten. Here, we understand that health is not something that comes in a bottle, but something cultivated, like the terraced gardens that climb our hillsides. It is a slow, patient process, built on small, consistent habits. For many years, I have observed that the most profound medicine is often the simplest. It is found not in complex chemical compounds, but in the humble contents of a kitchen pantry, in the wisdom passed down from our grandmothers. This is a truth that modern life, with its rush and its demand for instant solutions, often overlooks. We have become accustomed to seeking powerful cures for our ailments, forgetting the gentle power of prevention and nourishment. I was contemplating this one cool morning, the scent of damp earth and pine needles drifting through the open window, when I saw him. Mr. Barr, a man whose hands were as gnarled and wise as the ancient tea trees he cultivated, was struggling in his own garden. His garden was his sanctuary, a masterpiece of order and life that he had tended for over 60 years. Every plant, from the vibrant green lettuce to the deep purple eggplants, was a testament to his care. But today, his movements were stiff and uncertain. I watched as he bent down to pull a weed, his back rigid with effort. A tremor ran through his hand, and he had to pause, leaning heavily on a wooden stake for support. His breath came in shallow, visible puffs in the cool mountain air. He looked smaller than I remembered. His shoulders, once broad and strong from a lifetime of working the land, now seemed to stoop under an invisible weight. The vibrant energy that had always surrounded him, as tangible as the scent of his beloved jasmine flowers, was faded. A moment later, his daughter, Lien, rushed out of the house. I could hear the anxiety in her voice even from this distance, a sharp counterpoint to the morning's tranquility. She carried a stool and a glass of water, her movements quick and worried. She was a good daughter, devoted to her father, but she belonged to a different world, a world of cities, of fast solutions and store-bought remedies. She placed a hand on his arm, her words a gentle but firm insistence that he stop and rest. Mr. Barr shook his head, a gesture of stubborn pride, but the weariness in his body betrayed him. He sank onto the stool, his gaze fixed on the unruly patch of weeds, as if it were a personal defeat. Seeing him there, a giant of the earth so reduced, stirred a familiar ache in my heart. It is the story I have seen countless times in my practice. The body, after years of faithful service, begins to falter. The spirit, though willing, is trapped by the limitations of weakening muscles and aching joints. And often, the well-meaning love of family translates into a frantic search for a quick fix, an expensive supplement, a powerful pill, while the simple, foundational key to wellness is overlooked, hiding in plain sight. I knew Lien would likely bring him to see me soon, and I knew that the advice I had for them would be deceptively simple, a single, humble seed of an idea that, if planted and tended correctly, could help the old gardener find his strength again. As I had anticipated, Lien appeared at my clinic's door 2 days later, her father shuffling reluctantly behind her. Mr. Barr avoided my eyes, his gaze fixed on the polished wooden floorboards. His pride was a tangible thing, a heavy cloak he wore to hide the vulnerability of his aging body. He hated admitting he needed help, especially for something as fundamental as the strength in his own limbs. Dr. Anne, Lien began, her voice a carefully controlled blend of respect and urgency. My father. He isn't himself. He gets tired so quickly. His legs ache, and at night, He has terrible cramps that wake him from his sleep. I bought him the best multivitamins from the city, the imported kind with ginseng and royal jelly, but they don't seem to be helping. She placed a large, glossy bottle on my desk. The label was covered in foreign words and promised vitality and rejuvenation. I picked it up, feeling its weight in my hand. It was a symbol of her love, but also of her generation's faith in complex solutions for what are often simple problems. I turned my attention to her father. "Mr. Barr," I said gently, "how long have you been feeling this way?" He finally looked at me, his eyes clouded with a frustration that ran deeper than his physical symptoms. "It's just old age, doctor," he mumbled, waving a dismissive hand. "The body wears out. It's the way of things." "Perhaps," I agreed softly. "The seasons change for us, just as they do for your tea trees. But even an old tree can be nourished to stand strong against the wind. Tell me, what have you been eating?" Lien answered for him. "He doesn't have much of an appetite anymore. He says heavy foods make him feel bloated. He mostly has rice porridge, some steamed vegetables, maybe a little fish." I nodded, piecing together the familiar picture of geriatric frailty, or what the medical books call sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass that robs the elderly of their independence. It is often accompanied by poor digestion and a decreased ability to absorb nutrients. The expensive vitamins were like trying to fertilize a plant without first tending to the soil. I listened to his heart and checked his blood pressure. I felt the thinning muscles in his arms and legs. Everything pointed to a deep nutritional deficit, a slow starvation of the very building blocks his body needed to repair itself. After a few more questions, I pushed the glossy bottle of supplements back toward Lien. "These are not what he needs right now," I said. "His body is like tired soil. We need to enrich it gently, with something it can easily recognize and absorb." Lien's brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean? What should he be eating?" I opened a drawer in my old wooden desk and took out a small handful of black beans. They were smooth and dark, like polished river stones. I let them fall onto a clean sheet of paper on my desk, the sound a soft, dry rattle. "This," I said simply, "this is the medicine I prescribed for your father." A silence fell over the room. Lien stared at the beans, then at me, her expression a mixture of disbelief and disappointment. I could read her thoughts as clearly as if she had spoken them aloud. "Black beans. We came all this way for you to tell us to eat black beans. This is peasant food, not medicine." "Doctor," she said, struggling to keep the skepticism from her voice. "With all due respect, my father has eaten beans his whole life. How can this be a cure? Because it is not just about Doppli, what we eat, but how we prepare it." I explained patiently. "There is a secret to unlocking the immense power hidden inside this humble seed. If you do it wrong, you get little more than a simple meal. But if you do it right, the nutritional value can be 10 times greater. It can become a powerful tonic that can rebuild muscle, soothe the gut, strengthen bones, and protect the heart. The first and most important step is the one most people get wrong: the soaking." I gave them precise instructions for the first step, a ritual of patience. Lien listened with a polite but distant air, her disappointment palpable. Mr. Barr, however, had leaned forward slightly. As a man of the earth, he understood the language of seeds, of patience, of preparation. Perhaps a small part of him recognized a familiar wisdom in my words. Lien thanked me, her voice thin, and guided her father out of the clinic. As they walked away, I saw her cast a doubtful glance back at my door. She was a loving daughter, willing to do anything for her father. But the seed of an idea I had planted in her mind was a simple, humble one. In a world of loud promises and expensive cures, it would have to fight against a garden of weeds to take root. The following evening, as I was closing my clinic, I heard a hurried knock on the door. It was Lien, looking flustered. "Dr. Ahn, I am so sorry to bother you," she said, her breath short. "It's about the beans. My father," he tried, "but I don't think we did it right." She explained what had happened. Eager to see results, and spurred on by her own impatience, she had convinced her father to try a shortcut. "I read online that you can soak beans quickly in hot water," she admitted, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. "It said it would only take an hour. We were in a hurry to cook dinner." She described how they had poured boiling water over the black beans. The water had immediately turned a dark, inky color, and the beans had softened on the outside, but they remained hard at the core. When they cooked them, the result was a pot of mushy-skinned, half-raw beans that tasted bitter and gave her father an upset stomach. "He feels worse now," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "He says I am trying to poison him with my city impatience." I invited her to sit down and poured her a cup of warm herbal tea. "Lien," I said gently, "you did not poison him, but you did encounter the first and greatest enemy of nutrition: heat, applied at the wrong time." I explained that the hull of a black bean is a treasure chest. It holds precious antioxidants, the anthocyanins that protect our bodies from the damage of aging. The B vitamins, crucial for energy and nerve function, are also nestled just beneath this protective layer. "When you shock the bean with boiling water," I continued, using my hands to illustrate, "you force it open violently. The delicate shell breaks down, and all those precious nutrients, the very things we are trying to preserve, leach out into the water. The dark color you saw was the lifeblood of the bean, its most potent medicine, being washed away before you even began to cook." I could see a flicker of understanding in her eyes. The concept was simple, but it resonated. "Think of it like making a delicate tea," I offered. "If you use water that is too hot on fine green tea leaves, you scorch them. The brew becomes bitter, and the subtle, healthful properties are destroyed. A black bean is the same. It must be coaxed, not commanded, to share its gifts." The mistake was a common one, born from a modern desire for efficiency that often works against the natural processes of our food. We want everything faster, easier. But the body, like nature, operates on its own timetable. There are no shortcuts to true nourishment. "You have learned a valuable lesson," I told her kindly. "One that many people never learn. You have seen with your own eyes what happens when we rush the process. Now, you are ready to learn the right way, the slow way, the patient way." I sent her home with another small bag of black beans from my own pantry and a renewed set of instructions. This time, I sensed a change in her. Her earlier skepticism was being replaced by a grudging respect for the process. She had tried the shortcut, and it had failed, not just in flavor, but in its effect on her father's delicate system. The simple black bean was proving to be more complex than she had imagined, demanding a level of care and mindfulness she hadn't anticipated. Her journey, I realized, was not just about nursing her father back to health, but about unlearning her own ingrained habits of haste. 2 days later, Lien returned to my clinic. This time, she came alone, and her demeanor was different. The frantic energy was gone, replaced by a quiet curiosity. She carried a small notebook and a pen. "Dr. Arn," she began, "I want to understand. Tell me why the temperature of the water is so important. My father is willing to try again, but only if I do it perfectly this time." I smiled. This was the moment a true lesson could begin. "The process is not about perfection," I corrected gently. "It is about intention. When you soak a bean, you are not just adding water. You are participating in an act of awakening." I asked her to imagine the dry bean as a seed, sleeping through a long winter. It is dormant, its life force and nutrients locked away inside a hard, protective shell. It is waiting for the right conditions to awaken, the gentle warmth of spring, the slow seeping of moisture from the earth. If you pour boiling water on it, as you did, it is like a sudden, violent fire, I explained. The seed is destroyed before it can even sprout. But if you use cool water, or a gentle, lukewarm water, no warmer than a baby's bath, around 30 to 40 degrees Celsius, you are mimicking the slow, natural thaw of spring. I leaned forward, my voice soft. With this gentle water, the bean does not feel attacked. It begins to absorb the moisture slowly, from the outside in. Its tough shell softens. Deep inside its core, enzymes that have been sleeping for months are activated. These enzymes are the key. They begin the process of breaking down complex starches, making the bean easier to digest. They prepare the precious proteins and minerals to be released. It is a slow, methodical, and beautiful process. It is the bean's own wisdom at work. Lien was scribbling furiously in her notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. "So, cool water is best, or lukewarm?" "Aye, both are good," I replied. "Cool water is the simplest. Lukewarm water can speed the process slightly, but it must be gentle. When you place your hand in it, it should feel pleasant, not hot. The goal is to persuade the bean to wake up, not to shock it into submission. This gentle awakening ensures that when you finally cook the bean, all its nutritional treasures are intact and ready for your father's body to receive. I could see the idea taking root in her mind. She was beginning to see the bean not as an inert ingredient, but as a living thing with its own nature, its own rhythm. The kitchen, in this light, was not a place of hurried assembly, but a place of careful alchemy. "I understand now," she said, looking up from her notes. The doubt in her eyes was gone, replaced by a newfound respect. It's not just soaking, it's about working with the food, not against it. "Exactly," I said, my heart feeling a little lighter. "That is the first and most important secret." A week passed. I saw Mr. Barr from my window, sitting on his stool, methodically sorting through a basket of beans while Lien watched, a bowl of clear water beside them. They were working together, a quiet ritual unfolding in the morning Sunday. It was a good sign. That afternoon, Lien visited me again. This time, she had a new question, born not of skepticism, but of a desire to do things right. "Dr. Anne, we have been using cool water, and it works," she said. "But now I am worried about the time. My father's neighbor said she soaks her beans for a whole day. Is longer always better?" It was another excellent question, touching on the second great secret of this process, the rhythm of patience. "In our modern world, we think more is always better," I began. "More money, more speed, more time. But in nature and in our bodies, the most important thing is balance. Soaking beans is no different. There is a golden window of time, and it is between 6 and 8 hours. I explained the journey of the bean during those hours. Imagine the first few hours as the bean slowly drinking, waking from its long sleep. It is absorbing water, softening its tough exterior. After about 6 hours, it is fully hydrated. The enzymes inside are awake and active, transforming the stored starches and proteins into forms that are easier for us to digest. This is the peak of its preparation. "So what happens if we only soak it for 2 or 3 hours?" she asked, referencing her notebook. "If the time is too short," I said, "the bean's heart remains hard and dry. It hasn't had enough time to drink, to awaken its enzymes. When you cook it, it will be tough, perhaps even a little chalky. More importantly, the nutrients will remain locked away, and your father's body will struggle to absorb them. It can lead to the very bloating and discomfort we are trying to avoid. And if we soak it for too long, a whole day like the neighbor, that is the other side of the imbalance," I explained. "After about 12 hours, especially in our warm climate, the bean has had too much water. It can begin to ferment. You might see small bubbles on the surface of the water or smell a slightly sour odor. This is a sign that bacteria have started to grow, spoiling the bean and destroying its nutrients. Eating fermented beans can cause digestive upset and offers no benefit. You have missed the golden window." I suggested a simple routine for them. The easiest way is to wash and start soaking the beans in the evening. After dinner, let them rest overnight. In the morning, when you wake up, they will be perfectly ready. They will have had their 6 to 8 hours of quiet transformation. Nature's rhythm and your own rhythm will be in harmony. Lien smiled, a look of relief on her face. The idea of a simple, overnight rhythm appealed to her. It was no longer a complex task to be timed perfectly, but a natural part of the daily flow of life. "So, not too little, not too much. Just right," she summarized. "Precisely," I affirmed. "Patience is a virtue, but wisdom is knowing when the patient wait is over. 6 to 8 hours. That is the rhythm the bean understands best." The next time Lien came to see me, she was carrying a small glass jar filled with water. It was slightly cloudy, with a few tiny bubbles clinging to the side. "Doctor, I have followed your instructions," she said, placing the jar on my desk. "We soaked the beans overnight, but this morning the water looked like this. My father was worried. He said it looked unclean. He wanted to use the soaking water to cook the beans, thinking it contained nutrients that had leaked out." "Oh." I looked at the jar and nodded. "Your father's concern is a wise one. He is observing closely. But in this case, throwing this water away is one of the most important steps. This is the third secret, the cleansing ritual. I explained that as the bean soaks and awakens, it not only absorbs water, but it also releases certain compounds from its skin into the surrounding water. One of the main compounds is called phytic acid. Phytic acid is a natural part of many seeds and grains, I told her. It's a defense mechanism for the plant. But for us, it acts as an anti-nutrient. It can bind to important minerals in our digestive tract, minerals like iron, zinc, and magnesium, and prevent our bodies from absorbing them properly. Lien's eyes widened in understanding. So even if the beans are full of minerals, this phytic acid can block them. Exactly, I confirmed. This is why many people, especially the elderly with more sensitive digestive systems, feel bloated or gassy after eating beans. They are reacting to these anti-nutrients. The cloudiness and bubbles you see in this water are signs that the beans are releasing these compounds. It is a good thing. The bean is purifying itself. I continued. By changing the water once or twice during the soaking process, especially if you soak for the full 8 hours, you wash away this phytic acid. And most importantly, you must discard the final soaking water before you cook the beans. That water is not a nutritious broth, it is a bath of impurities that the bean has cleansed itself of. This new piece of information seemed to complete a puzzle for her. The process was not just about softening the bean, but about a deep internal cleansing. It is like washing rice before you cook it, I offered as an analogy. We wash away the excess starch and dust to get a cleaner, better tasting result. With beans, we are washing away the invisible things that can hinder our health. This simple act of changing the water makes the beans infinitely more digestible, more gentle on the stomach, and allows your father's body to absorb all the good minerals without interference. Lien picked up the jar and looked at the cloudy water with new eyes. So, we are helping the bean become its best self before we eat it. A beautiful way to put it, I said with a smile. It is a small step, a simple ritual of cleansing, but it makes all the difference between a food that is merely filling and a food that is truly healing. She left that day with a deeper appreciation for the unseen forces at play, in a simple bowl of water and beans. Ready to complete the ritual, her father had questioned. For nearly 2 weeks, I didn't see Lien or her father. I would occasionally catch a glimpse of Mr. Ba in his garden, moving with a little more ease, spending a bit more time among his plants before tiring. The change was subtle, but it was there. Then one morning, Lien arrived at my clinic with a small, covered clay pot. A fragrant steam was rising from its lid. She was beaming. "Dr. Anne, a gift for you," she said, her voice filled with a warmth I hadn't heard before. She removed the lid, and the savory, nutty aroma of perfectly cooked congee filled the room. It was black bean porridge, cooked with brown rice. The beans were plump and whole, yet soft, their dark skins glistening. "My father wanted you to have the first bowl from this batch," she explained. "He has been eating this every morning for a week, and he is different." She told me how, at first, he was hesitant. His stomach had felt so sensitive for so long that he was afraid of anything new. But she had cooked the beans exactly as I had instructed, stewing them slowly until they were meltingly tender, and combined them with soft-cooked brown rice. The first day, he only ate a few spoonfuls, she recounted, but he didn't feel bloated. The next day, he ate half a bowl, and yesterday, for the first time in months, he finished the entire bowl and said he felt light. He said his stomach felt calm. This was the first harvest of their efforts. Before any great changes in muscle or bone, the first healing must happen in the gut. For the elderly, a calm digestive system is the foundation of all health. If the gut is irritated, no amount of nutrition can be properly absorbed. "And his energy?" I asked. "It's a quiet energy, not a sudden burst," she said thoughtfully. "But it is steady. He spent an hour in his garden this morning, not working, just sitting and weeding a small patch around his favorite rosebush. Before, 10 minutes would have exhausted him. After he eats the congee now, he doesn't immediately need to nap. He says he feels a warmth in his limbs that wasn't there before." I looked at the porridge in the pot. It was more than just food. It was a testament to her patience and her father's trust. It was the physical result of their shared ritual. "This is the beginning, Lien," I told her, my heart full. "You have healed the soil first. You have given his body something it can easily welcome and use. The bloating is gone because the cleansed beans are gentle. The steady energy comes from the high-quality protein and complex carbohydrates being absorbed properly for the first time in a long while. She nodded, her eyes shining. The expensive, imported supplements had promised miracles and delivered nothing. This simple, humble bowl of porridge, prepared with mindfulness and care, had brought the first real glimmer of hope. It was a small victory, but it was everything. It was the proof that the old ways, the slow ways, held a profound and tangible power. I accepted the bowl of congee with gratitude, not just as a gift, but as a shared celebration of this first, precious harvest. A month after that first bowl of congee, the changes in Mr. Barr were no longer subtle. They were visible to anyone who cared to look. He walked with a firmer step. The tremor in his hands had lessened, and the stoop in his shoulders seemed to have eased. He began visiting the morning market again, not to buy much, but to greet old friends, his voice carrying with a newfound strength. Lien came for her now regular visit, not with questions, but with reports that sounded like quiet triumphs. "He is eating so much better," she told me. "He has 2 bowls of the black bean congee some mornings. He even helped me lift a sack of rice yesterday. It was not a heavy sack, but a month ago, he couldn't have even gripped it." This was the time to explain the next layer of healing she was witnessing. "What you are seeing, Lien, is the rebuilding of a house. For years, your father's house, his body, has been losing its bricks without getting any new ones. Those bricks are protein. Without protein, muscles cannot repair themselves. They shrink. This is the sarcopenia we talked about, the reason he felt so weak. I explained that while meat and fish are sources of protein, they can be heavy and difficult for an older person's digestive system to break down. But the protein in properly soaked black beans is different. It is a plant protein that has been pre-digested by the soaking process. The enzymes have already started the work. So when your father eats them, his body can absorb that protein easily and send it directly to where it's needed most, his muscles. So, the beans are literally rebuilding his strength?" she asked, marveling at the idea. "Yes, brick by brick, meal by meal," I confirmed. "But that's only half the story. Do you remember how you told me he always felt bloated and heavy before?" She nodded emphatically. "It was his biggest complaint. That feeling came from a slow, sluggish digestive tract. Think of it like a path that has become cluttered with fallen leaves and debris. Nothing can move through smoothly. The fiber in the black beans, especially when combined with the fiber in the brown rice, acts like a gentle broom. It sweeps the path clean." I elaborated on the 2 types of fiber. There is insoluble fiber, which adds bulk and helps move waste through, preventing constipation. And there is soluble fiber, which nourishes the good bacteria in the gut. A healthy gut means better absorption of all nutrients, not just from the beans, but from everything he eats. When his digestive path is clear, his whole body feels lighter and more energetic. The feeling of heaviness vanishes. Lien sat back, connecting the dots. The weakness, the bloating, the poor appetite, they were all intertwined. And the solution wasn't a powerful drug to target one symptom, but a simple food that addressed the root of the problem in a holistic way. So the protein builds the house, and the fiber cleans the pathways leading to it, she concluded. A perfect summary of the lesson. "Precisely," I said. "And a house with strong walls and clear pathways is a place where one can live well. Your father is not just getting stronger, he is becoming whole again from the inside out." The next victory came on a cool evening 2 months into their journey. Lien stopped by just as I was lighting the lamp in my clinic. Her face was animated with excitement. "Doctor, the night cramps are gone," she announced. "For a whole week, he has slept through the night without waking up in pain, and he told me today that when he stands up from his chair, the world doesn't spin anymore." These were the symptoms that had worried her the most. The painful muscle cramps that stole his sleep and the dizziness that threatened his balance and safety. These were signs that the healing was reaching an even deeper level, nourishing his very bones and blood. "Now, Lien," I said, motioning for her to sit, "we must talk about the hidden minerals, the ones that are often forgotten but are essential for the body's electrical and transport systems. We are talking about magnesium and iron." I explained that magnesium is the great relaxer. It is a mineral that helps muscles contract and then, more importantly, release. The painful cramps your father experienced were often a sign of a magnesium deficiency. His muscles were contracting but didn't have enough magnesium to properly relax. It also plays a crucial role with calcium. You can take all the calcium in the world for your bones, but without magnesium, your body can't use it effectively. Magnesium helps guide the calcium into the bones, making them strong and dense. And the black beans have magnesium. They are an excellent source, I confirmed. By eating them regularly, he has replenished his body's stores. His muscles can now function smoothly, which is why the cramps have disappeared. And the dizziness, she asked. For that, we must thank iron, I replied. Think of your father's blood as a great river flowing through his body. Iron is what allows the red blood cells, the little boats in that river, to carry their precious cargo, oxygen. When someone is deficient in iron, they don't have enough healthy boats. Not enough oxygen reaches the brain, the muscles, or any other part of the body. This is why he felt tired, why his skin was pale, and why he would get dizzy, especially when changing positions. His brain was momentarily starved of oxygen. I could see her picturing the river, the boats, the precious cargo. The analogy made the science tangible. The iron in the black beans, especially because the phytic acid has been washed away, is highly absorbable. His body is now building more and healthier red blood cells. The river is flowing strong again, carrying life-giving oxygen to every corner of his body. His brain is nourished, so the dizziness fades. His muscles are nourished, so he feels more energetic. Lien looked down at her own hands, perhaps imagining the rivers flowing within her. The human body, which had seemed like a complex and failing machine, was now revealing itself to be an elegant, interconnected ecosystem. So, it wasn't just old age, she whispered, a statement of profound realization. It was a deep hunger, a hunger for simple things. Yes, I agreed. A hunger for the minerals of life, a hunger that you, with your patience and a humble bowl of beans, have begun to satisfy. As the seasons began to turn, a deeper change became apparent in Mr. Barr. It was something beyond the physical improvements. It was in his eyes, which had regained a certain sparkle. His memory, which had become clouded and forgetful, sharpened. He started telling old stories again, recalling the names of plants he hadn't spoken of in years. He seemed more present, more engaged with the world around him. Lien noticed it too. It's like a fog has lifted from his mind. She told me during one of our talks. He laughs more. He remembers to water the orchids on the porch, a task he'd forgotten for a long time. What is happening, Doctor? He is being protected by the shield of vigor, I said, using a term I often employed to explain a complex idea. And that shield is forged from the very skin of the black bean. I explained that the deep, dark color of the bean's hull was not just for show. It was a sign of its immense concentration of a powerful group of antioxidants called anthocyanins. You have heard of antioxidants before, I'm sure, I began. Think of them as protectors. Every day, our bodies are under attack from things called free radicals. You can imagine them as tiny sparks of fire, created by stress, by pollution, and simply by the process of living and aging. These sparks can damage our cells, causing them to rust like a piece of metal left in the rain. This cellular rust is what we call aging. This rust can affect everything, I continued. It can inflame the joints, making them stiff and painful. It can damage the walls of our blood vessels, leading to heart problems. And it can harm the cells of our brain, leading to memory loss, and the mental fog your father was experiencing. Lien listened, captivated. And the anthocyanins, they put out the fire. Exactly. They are like a powerful squad of firefighters, I said. They neutralize the free radicals, extinguishing the sparks before they can do any harm. They protect the cells, keeping them healthy and resilient for longer. The anthocyanins in black beans are particularly potent. Studies have shown they are incredibly effective at reducing inflammation in the body, which is why your father's joints are likely feeling better. They also protect the delicate nerve cells in the brain, which helps to clear that fog and improve memory and focus. This was the final piece of the puzzle, the secret that tied everything together. It wasn't just about providing building blocks like protein and minerals, it was about actively defending the body against the very process of decay. So every time he eats those beans, he is not just nourishing his body, he is defending it, Lien mused. He is raising his shield, I affirmed. A shield against pain, a shield against forgetfulness, a shield against the relentless march of time. It cannot stop time, of course. Nothing can. But it can ensure that the journey is one of health and vigor, not of sickness and decline. She left that day with a sense of awe. The humble black bean, which she had once dismissed as peasant food, had revealed itself to be a comprehensive pharmacy, a source of construction, cleansing, and now a powerful defense. Her father's return to mental clarity was not a miracle. It was the logical result of arming his body with the tools it needed to protect itself. 6 months after that first, doubtful visit, the man who walked into my clinic was transformed. Mr. Barr stood straighter, his handshake was firm, and his eyes were clear and bright. He moved with a purpose that I hadn't seen in years. He was not a young man, but he was a man full of life. Lien followed behind him, no longer with a look of worry, but with a quiet, proud smile. "Dr. Ann," Mr. Barr said, his voice resonant, "my garden is thriving again, and I believe I am too." He didn't come with complaints or questions. He came with a gift. Lien placed a large, flat basket on my desk. It was filled with vegetables from his garden, luminous green gourds, deep purple eggplants, and fiery red chilies, all arranged like jewels. It was a work of art, a symbol of his restored vitality. "I wanted to thank you," Mr. Barr continued. "You did not give me a powerful, expensive medicine. You gave me back something I had forgotten, the wisdom of the earth, the patience of a seed." Lien added, "His blood pressure is stable. His cholesterol, which was always a concern, has improved at his last checkup. The doctor in the city was surprised." "That is the final benefit of our humble bean," I told them, gesturing to the beautiful harvest before me. The combination of soluble fiber, which helps clear cholesterol from the system, and the anthocyanins, which protect the blood vessels from inflammation, creates the perfect support for the heart. When the heart is strong and the pathways are clear, the entire body benefits. As we talked, a neighbor of theirs, an elderly woman named Mrs. Tam, whom I knew had been suffering from similar ailments, peered into the clinic. She had seen the remarkable change in Mr. Barr over the months. Lien saw her looking and, with a confident smile, waved her in. "Auntie Tam, come in. Let me tell you about the secret of the black beans." In that moment, I saw the cycle complete. The knowledge had not just healed one person. It was now being passed on, from daughter to neighbor, a seed of wisdom planted in new soil. Lien, who had once been the skeptic, was now the teacher. She had not only learned a recipe, she had embraced a philosophy. She spoke with passion about soaking thymes and gentle water, about cleansing rituals and the shield of antioxidants. Mr. Barr watched his daughter, a look of immense pride on his face. The garden that had been reborn was not just the one outside his house, filled with vegetables. It was this garden of knowledge, of community, of care that was now blossoming before our eyes. The expensive supplements from the city lay forgotten. The true medicine had been here all along, passed from my desk to their kitchen, and now out into the community. The basket of vegetables on my desk was not just a thank you, it was a symbol of a harvest far greater than any of us could have imagined. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the valley, I stood at my window and watched Mr. Barr and Lien walk home. Mrs. Tam walked with them, listening intently as Lien spoke, her hands gesturing with the easy confidence of a seasoned teacher. A little further down the path, one of Mr. Barr's young grandchildren ran to meet him, and the old man effortlessly lifted the child into his arms. It was a sight I would not have thought possible just 6 months ago. The basket of vegetables sat on my desk, its vibrant colors a silent testament to the day's events. But the true harvest, the unseen harvest, was the profound lesson that had unfolded. Health, I reflected, is not a destination you arrive at with a single cure. It is a journey, a daily practice of small, mindful acts. It is the patience to soak a seed, the wisdom to listen to the body's quiet needs, and the love to share what you have learned with others. The black bean, in all its humility, had been the perfect teacher. It taught Lien the folly of impatience and the power of tradition. It taught Mr. Barr that old age did not have to be a slow surrender to frailty, but could be a time of renewed strength and dignity. It had reminded me that my role as a doctor was not just to prescribe medicine, but to reacquaint people with the simple, healing wisdom that already exists in their own kitchens and garden. It is crucial to remember, and something I always stress, that this humble food is a powerful support, not a replacement for medical care. It is one pillar of a healthy life, alongside gentle movement and a positive spirit. Mr. Barr did not abandon his blood pressure medication. Instead, the beans worked in harmony with it, allowing his body to heal more completely. The story of Mr. Barr became a quiet legend in our town. It was a story not of a miracle drug, but of a return to sense. It was proof that in our frantic search for complex solutions, we have overlooked the profound power of simplicity. The greatest healing often comes not from what is new and expensive, but from what is old, humble, and understood. As darkness settled over the mountains, I knew that in the kitchens of our town, more bowls of black beans were being set to soak for the night. A quiet ritual of awakening was spreading, a gentle revolution of health taking root, one humble seed at a time. And that, I thought to myself, was a harvest more valuable than any medicine in the world. It was the harvest of wisdom, patience, and the enduring power of life itself.